The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another Soccer to the Max, a midweek edition here, as the MLS decided to have one more full week of games before we hit the Gold Cup break. So, when this happens, you don't get an all-star break like you get in the other American sports. You get a Gold Cup break because, hey, we had to have an international tournament in July, and MLS is not on the international calendar. So, this is what happens sometimes. So there was a full slate of games from Tuesday, Wednesday, and one on Thursday that just ended about, I want to say, like an hour ago. So we'll kind of go through these. We're in a bit of a time crunch, so we are not going to go through these in full, and some of them, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Also, if you want to hear our Gold Cup predictions, we did those on the Weekend Sunday show at the end of that show. So you might want to go back and listen to the Sunday edition where we talked about the Confed Cup final. We gave our Gold Cup predictions at the end. We all had one prediction for the final, but interesting to kind of hear our thoughts in between there. So today we're going to talk about, of course, the MLS week, the week 19 before they go on the break. Eric, your thing's getting all weird.
Getting all weird how?
It's like getting like scratchy, like sounds like electricity's going through the for a second.
Okay, how about now?
Now it sounds good.
Okay, yeah, long story with my phone and former conundrums in Snapchat, but seriously, Don, this is all your fault. Come on, Don. Scheduling. We've been through this. And funny, you've been awful quiet since I retweeted that tweet of yours. Still nothing, huh, Don? Come on now.
I guess not. So, yeah, we'll also talk about some things outside of MLS, the few times that we do, because they're kind of big and overarching. So we'll get into that. But let's start with the MLS stuff, since that's what we're here to talk about, Eric. Of course, the July 4th was on Tuesday, and many clubs, including the LA Galaxy and FC Dallas, have a tradition of playing games on July 4th themselves. Because, to do fireworks after the game or whatnot,
Or in some cases during.
Yeah, or during as well. So you had a group of games here. You had Atlanta and San Jose. You had Minnesota and Columbus, FC Dallas, DC United, Seattle, Colorado, and Real Salt Lake and LA Galaxy. I'm sorry, Eric, but DC actually at times looked competent.
No, don't coddle me. I saw that game. I don't want to hear it.
They did look confident at times.
Okay.
They were giving Dallas a bit of a run at times going forward.
Then how do you possibly explain how FC Dallas scored 4 goals in 15 minutes?
Well, also Bill Hamid's not there, so that one goal that goes near post that should never have been a goal probably wouldn't have happened with Bill Hamid. But,
okay, take that out.
The one by Arruti, that should have never been a goal in any kind of normal circumstance. But yes.
Yeah, but you take that out, you still great timed runs and one off of a header on a set piece. That's still 3 goals in 15 minutes. Yeah. No,
I mean,
even DC, yes, to your credit, you scored twice. Bully for you. But no. Stop it.
Max Arruti now ties his career high for goals, and we're at the break. So, he now has a chance to really add to that margin, hopefully, because he's really the one that's scoring a lot for Dallas. Everything else is kind of here and there. Acosta scores goals and whatnot, but it's really been Arruti, the guy that's getting them in. So, they better hope that he doesn't go on some kind of drought during this.
Well, at least either he doesn't go on a drought or they play DC United again, which, unfortunately, that's impossible,
Yeah.
but...
Colorado went back to their old ways.
Yeah.
At home, too, which is not good.
Well, I mean, it was against Seattle, and again, another instance of very well-timed balls. You had Deuce himself, Clint Dempsey, who, Don, good on you to mention that it was his 200th goal in all competitions. But, come on, Don, all the stuff you're talking about for your league and all this and that and big announcements, and you don't mention it's his 150th MLS start? Missed opportunity.
I don't know. I think the goals in all competitions looks and sounds better. I think people, if you're a Sounders fan, you don't want to talk about his time as a New England Revolution player.
No. Okay, so you don't talk about that as a Sounders fan, but as the commissioner of Major League Soccer, you talk about him in Major League Soccer.
So I think Don likes to act like the MLS didn't exist before, all the SSS stadiums and all that have started to appear and the teams have become what they are. So
then don't include the best shootouts in league history on your website, Don.
I don't think Don really has much to do with the website.
Well, I mean, he's commissioner, so he should have to do something, or at least hire
I don't think he goes on the website going, okay, you guys print this today, that today, and this today.
Well, he doesn't, but he hires the people who does. That's still a second-hand say so.
I don't know. What I do appreciate about MLS is even when they were in bad times, they allowed the website to be independent and have its people be able to say what they want. Because there's times where they say things about the league that I'm like, wow, there's a lot of corporate places. Now, the Cowboys are also that way where they can kind of say whatever they want about the team, but there's a lot of I'll listen to some, like, let's say, the Arizona Cardinals or whatever. If you're negative about the team at all, you might not have a job next week. So
yeah, well, look at the different owners and then look at Jerry Jones. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but, like, your website or whatever, you should be able to accept criticism from your media people because that's kind of what you're paying them to do, right? Not just sit there and PR your team. You already have a PR team for that.
Yeah, and I completely agree, and that's why I say it's on Don. Don't act like this league didn't exist when your league is showing footage of when it did. Right. And it was actually damn good, too, for what it was.
And Salt Lake laid the hammer down on the Galaxy in the second half.
Where did that come from? I mean,
it came from changing Saborino, Viva Venezuela, and putting Rusnak and him together and putting Mosisian down a little bit, which actually Raw Salt Lake is. There's a report now of them wanting to trade him. So
okay, follow-up question: why didn't they do this sooner?
I don't know. Sometimes you've got to. They're trying to give him opportunities because Mosisian has scored goals for them before, and actually right now the talk is for him to go to the Galaxy. So, which might need a real number 9 or target guy.
Yeah, because 6'2", dear sweet Jeebus.
You've also got, and what was nice is if you're going away from July 4th on July 5th, you had some really fun games. You had an up and down, everywhere going, sometimes like school ball being played between the Red Bulls and New England, which Vedon comes on and in the 89th minute freaking steals it for the Red Bulls away from home where they normally do not play well. You have Sebastian Giovinco and Josie Altidore put on a show. Houston absolutely just obliterates Montreal. I mean, yeah, it's only 3-1, but Montreal just never looked like they were in it.
Hey, or Toronto Orlando was 3-1, and that was a gut punch, okay? So don't go downplaying that scoreline.
I'm downplaying it from the perspective of Orlando just looked like...
Stupid.
the Rivas goal was actually pretty good.
I was surprised. He did something right for once, but that was all.
And also that they brought him on as a sub, which was weird to see a little bit too. But yeah, it's just Toronto was just all over everything.
Set piece, Altidore getting up at the right time, Giovinco making the supporting runs. Hey, Orlando, that's how goals happen.
Giovinco almost had another set-piece free kick goal that hit the bar. And then he goes and he says, oh, I barely missed the first one? There's no way you're stopping the second one. Screw you. Wow. I mean, that's how you know a guy is absolutely world-class. Just, MLS is so lucky he did not leave for China. You get to watch him do this every week. And it was so actually kind of cool how the other goals happened with Gio playing Josie Altidore in and then Josie Altidore playing it back to Gio for the other goal. Just two guys working in sweet harmony, I guess you could say.
And to think the amount of money China was going to pay. But then again, they were going to pay everybody like that. So, Gio, good on... I can't stand you for this week, but good on you for doing the right thing and knowing something was up. Just don't do that to Orlando ever again. Okay, thanks.
Vancouver and NYCFC was also really fun. Pirlo actually played really well in this game, but NYCFC did not win after having to come from behind and get goals. And then just, again, Teixeira looked really good in here. Freddie Montero was also good in this game. Villa was himself, as always. McNamara getting a goal is always nice for him. But, for me, that's what stood out. I think Pirlo kind of took the I'm not starting all the time role and said, all right, I'm going to take this as I better get my butt in gear kind of thing. And nice to see that instead of pouting and being upset.
He was one of the reasons why I nearly opened the broadcast speaking Italian tonight. But alas, that'll be for Sunday.
And Portland and Chicago was really up and down and fun too.
That, I could have sworn Portland would have had that one. I mean, hard to believe that Chicago and Atlanta are the only teams to never beat Portland. And even then, Chicago at the end came real close. But that was a hell of a match. All without Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Ha!
No less.
And no Dax McCarty for Chicago either. So
no.
Portland's also missing players as well. No Guzman. There's somebody else. I think there's somebody for Jamaica that's not playing either. So I think two guys actually. So
yeah, they were still very lucky to have Nagby.
Valeri
good.
Also. He had a goal that probably would have gone in had he not been offside. But
yeah, well, I mean, it was one really on each end. Adi scored the first thanks to a penalty from a handball. The refs, I think, missed another handball late from João Moreira. Yeah.
Yeah. Oof, big one on that end that they missed there. This is going to be so much more to talk about once VAR gets instituted after
August
the All-Star
6th.
break. Yep, August 6th, it's going to be happening. Roman Torres looking to get out of Seattle, apparently. That would be a big loss for the Sounders. He is somebody that plays a pivotal role for them, whether it's in defense or even crossing on those headers. They did sign a Dutch defender in Kevin Letterdam. I don't know if that might be an issue for Roman Torres. He made 186 league appearances for between Feyenoord and Vitesse. So,
I mean, it is the Dutch league, and the Eredivisie teams really don't score a whole bunch, so I'm just taking that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and then of course Sporting and Philadelphia, I think you saw like the first half of this.
I did. Sporting, a lot better chances. Philly's second keeper, McCarthy, looked like he took a weird injury issue with a plant foot, stretching out and making a great save. But what looked even those first 15, 20 minutes, Sporting kept starting to get pressure, forced McCarthy into some great saves. Scoreless at the half, and as I was elsewhere for the second half, so.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting second half for MLS in general, which picks up as the Gold Cup goes into the knockout stage, of course, after the first couple weeks.
Yeah, and can I also give a shout out to more and more local coverage? We've talked about CSN Philadelphia, but can I also quick shout out to Portland and also Fox Sports Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, that was cool that Fox Sports Atlanta was covering it for the San Jose Atlanta game. So
yes, especially at the end. But I'll talk about that later.
Wando with a heck of a goal in that game, too.
Yeah, both of San Jose's goals were very, very fluky. For the longest time, it did not look like they were playing with 10 men.
Yeah, I know. It's like, again, that whole thing with Atlanta and not playing much defense.
Well,
they are all about trying to outscore you.
Well, and the weirdest thing, they actually played very good defense for the most part, but if you look at San Jose's goals, Wando, right at the start of the second half, Tommy Thompson, the second minute.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to open up a playbook, try to strike Atlanta before they get set. Because once they get going...
But I think right as San Jose was starting to get things going, that red card hit, that second yellow hits...
Mm-hmm.
Which the first yellow should have been a red, because you should not be going two-footed for anything. I'm sure he might get an extra extra game suspension. Would not be surprised if that committee is doing its job, honestly. But
no surprise at all.
I think this is going to be interesting with VAR coming in and the MLS having their committee. And how strict they are. They're actually one of the only leagues that's really doing a lot for me about diving. Like, they actually penalize you. You're going to get fines. We saw Ortiz from DC United get suspended because he did it so many times. So I like the fact that MLS is really making a point of that. I mean, could they really do it in other leagues? I don't know. You got players getting paid a lot more money. And
so what? That means you could give them a lot bigger fines.
Right, but those players have a lot more power. So,
UEFA is going to kind of put a bit of a kibosh on that.
Well, let's see that. Let's see if that actually happens, because they're the ones that are against VAR really heavily, but now they want to do something interesting, which they probably need to do if they ever want parity across, especially with the big teams, and especially in leagues like, maybe not the Premier League, because that's sort of sometimes, where we're starting to see things level out a little bit, especially last year. We saw a lot of the top teams not play well. You had a lot more mid-table teams play well.
You had a lot more mid-table teams play well, and I guess they were feeding off of what happened to Leicester City, which was, let's face it, that's not happening again unless UEFA pulls the trigger on this. But if you really look at it at the end of the day, for the longest time it was a big 4, now it's like a big 6.
Right.
Not too much of a difference there.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, but that's kind of been in the mix for a while as far as what Tottenham had been doing, signing players and getting with the new stadium and all that stuff, more money coming in. And now Arsenal is almost kind of, especially if Alexis Sanchez leaves, they're kind of going a little bit backwards, whereas some other teams are kind of going ahead of them in the Liverpools and Manchester United's, where they were sort of sinking a little bit. So,
hey, Arson, spend money for the love of
They
God.
did bring in Lacazette, but he's really just a replacement for a better Giroud, honestly. So
my statement stands: spend money. That's what it's there for.
They really should just go try to make sure Sanchez doesn't leave, but he seems to kind of be set on what he's doing. So here's now this was like almost a week ago. We probably should have talked about it on Sunday, but we forgot. Had so much on that show, actually. This sort of came out with UEFA President Alexander Ceferin, who replaced Platini in September. He talks about UEFA seriously considering a salary cap that we see in U.S. leagues, more predominantly, so that the gulf between Europe's wealthiest clubs and the rest of the field drops. Because right now the gulf is even bigger, especially because they relaxed the financial fair play regulations because they wanted more investment in European club soccer. So, they relax them, and of course you're going to have all these exorbitant wages. I mean, what's Manchester United been talking about? They're ready to spend $200 million for players. It's like, come on, this is ridiculous. Like,
or lest we forget Lionel Messi with his new 3-4 year deal to 2021. It's got a $340 million
That's
buyout
just a
clause.
ridiculous thing, so that they don't have to worry about him going anywhere, because nobody's going to pay that.
At this point, if someone's going to spend $200 million, going from 200,
they're not spending $200 million on one player. They're spending $200 million on like 4 different players.
Hey, but still, you never know. I mean, at some point, with the exponential level of salary increases and spending increases, I mean, look at teams like your Chelsea and like your Manchester City. They're willing to drop close to $1 billion in salary for all their players. It wouldn't be a stretch that in a few years' time, not now, I will admit, but say within a decade, this could happen.
Well, I think the salary cap probably happens before then. They would make sure that it happens at that point if we're starting to spend $200 million, $300 million on one player. That was ridiculous. But, so you know what? Obviously, we're biased being from the United States and being in a situation where we see this all the time and it kind of being normal to us. So, maybe we're not the best people to be talking about this situation as compared to, people in Europe that might be freaking out about this right now.
You know who's actually qualified to look at this in a weird way? Hockey fans. No, you laugh, but I'm serious. The NHL has only had an actual salary cap for about 6 or 7 years.
Well, baseball doesn't have a salary cap.
No, baseball doesn't whatsoever. They're not going to.
Right.
The NBA, they have their 2 levels. They have a soft cap and a hard cap where luxury tax kicks in. But if you're talking about implementing anything like this, hockey is a good example. Now, you can look just at the big 5 European leagues. England, Italy, Spain, Germany, France.
Right. Just
focus on those. You have your big clubs in Germany, your big ones in Italy, etc., etc.
Basically, it's to get people so that Juventus doesn't win the Scudetto 4 years in a row without nobody's challenging them.
Right. Again, without match fixing.
Right. Bayern Munich not winning the league every year, so that the battle's not between Real Madrid and Barcelona. Those kind of things.
But I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to force such a chess match where potentially these kinds of things could still happen. And I will go back to the NHL as a brief example. Go back to 2010, right around the time where the salary cap was implemented. You only had a couple teams win the Stanley Cup. Chicago's won 3, LA's won twice, Pittsburgh just went back-to-back. So even in a cap era, for everybody who loves their dynasties, if your club manages their finances right, you could still create that. But, as you said, mid-table and all of these challengers, you could have a good 2-3 year stretch where it's an unknown or semi-known club that could go and win a title if everything.
Yeah, you could have more Leicester City opportunities.
Exactly, more Leicester City or an 1860 Munich or AS Roma, what have you.
Right. When Atletico made that big push that one year, it's just. I think that's kind of what you really want. Whether Real Madrid or Barcelona wind up winning, you want it to be a bit closer with the other teams at the end of the day. And that makes for a better league, whether you believe it or not. Absolutely. Yes, the big teams not playing well last season didn't help the Premier League. The ratings were down. But, if things are closer and teams are having to play at their best to get wins because every win matters more. Not that they don't, because obviously you got the relegation and all that stuff that you don't have in the American leagues. But just a salary cap is an idea which you can implement, and you can also take away if it's not working, or if it's too restrictive, or you can mess with the salary cap so that it's not as restrictive. Whatever they want to do, there's models out there.
Yeah, it's very malleable, and even as you pointed out, Leicester City ratings were down, but look at what Leicester City was able to do the following season and how well they did in Champions League. Because of that, you could have more of these situations where your Champions League finals, the crown of your sport and your confederation, isn't so samey.
So yeah, you don't have Real Madrid repeating twice.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the Premier League mainly in that topic there. The Premier League introduced. Well, this is for the United States only. So if you're from another country, this doesn't concern you at all because however your country does the Premier League, it stays the same.
Yeah, over in England, they mainly use Sky, which smart.
Right, but in England, the 10 o'clock a.m. games that we get here, they don't even show them on TV so that you go and watch your club at the stadium. But, World Soccer Talk does this great job of telling you about streaming news and all this stuff, and they also have podcasts as well, which you should go check out if you like hearing about coverage and all that kind of stuff. They have a nice graphic using last year's what was shown on TV. And telling you what teams you can probably expect to have a lot of their games shown on Premier League Pass, which is the Premier League basically going back to the days when you had Fox Soccer and Setanta Sports, where there was games that you could only see on Fox Soccer or Fox whatever, maybe it was on, some other Fox state affiliate like Fox Sports, your local Fox Sports Net or whatever. And then you had a setting.
You really want to go back in the day. Fox Sports World US and Fox Sports World Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
God, that was
myself.
Bad. So Setanta had a certain amount of games, and then if you didn't have Setanta, if you didn't pay your $15 a month or whatever, I think it was $15 a month, Jesus. You couldn't watch those games. Well, that's what Fox Soccer Plus costs now. So if then when Setanta went away, Fox Soccer Plus started doing that. Then they figured out that, oh crap, we probably don't want to do that. Let's put it on another station or what. Let's bring it all in house. And this was when NBC finally bought the rights, and they did the whole every team every game whatever, until this season where they figured out that let's split it up. Let's put 130 games on this thing where you got to pay $50, and you get these 130 games that are not going to be shown on TV. There's a minimum of 3 times a season that your club, no matter what they are, who they are going to be on this thing. Now, it might be Manchester United against Burnley, but they're going to be on there. So if you want to watch every game of your club legally, you got to buy this thing, which kind of sucks. But honestly, for people like us that are Manchester United fans, it's not a big deal. But if you're a fan of the other 14 teams that are not the big 6, like West Brom, which could see up to 60% of their games beyond this thing, or Stoke, which could see 55%, or a Leicester City, 45%. Swansea, 36. Anywhere from 36 to 40.
What do they have against the Welsh?
But it's just, that's kind of how it is. They favor the bigger clubs and the bigger matchups. You're probably not going to have to worry about, Manchester United's Manchester City being on that thing. That's never going to be on there.
And when we were first talking about this, you said the point. Number one, and I'm glad you emphasized legally, here on Soccer to the Max, or any W2Mnet podcast, we do not condone any sort of illegal viewing or streaming activities.
We pay for our MLS Live over here.
Yes.
To talk about all these games. So
exactly. I haven't touched my Amazon Fire Stick, and for good reason. I shell out my money just like everybody else. If you have an Amazon Fire Stick and you can get any sort of website, that is all on you. That's on your time, whatever. But I say that to say this. I'm not going to shell out $50 just so I can see United against Burnley or a West Ham or Newcastle now that they're back. I'm not. So
Newcastle could have a lot of their games on this thing, which kind of sucks.
Exactly. It's going to be terrible for them, terrible for Swansea City, terrible for Leicester City. And that's why I think this movie's a little bit greedy, because you're profiting off of...
Hold on. You're talking about Comcast being greedy here.
Yes.
They're the number one in greedy.
No, that's why I say, you know my experiences with Comcast. You know how I had to haggle them down with my equipment. You know how I was willing to march in there, say certain things, carry a battle axe, swing it a few times, etc., etc. You get where I'm coming from when I say this. So I say, yes, Comcast, yes, you have not escaped my wrath. Neither have you, NBC Universal. You are all in cahoots with this, because you have found yet another way to profit off of the fan bases, some small, some large, all of them fairly rabid, for about what? The bottom 2/3 of the Premier League? Shame on you.
Keep on talking. I gotta go open the door. Apparently somebody forgot their key.
Okay, because we're talking about, yes, with the big 6, Arsenal, Liverpool, you're lucky, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Premier League champions, although we have the special one on our side, so yeah. These fans aren't going to worry. As I've said, I'm not going to shell out $50 just so I can see a match against a team maybe fighting for a European spot or most likely in a relegation battle. But you look at those, and even the clubs with American ties, like a lot of fans who are still fans of Everton from back in the day, if they ever get back into the Premier League, which I doubt this would happen, Fulham would be a victim of this. And your Leicester Cities, like Sean said, and your Newcastle, your Stoke, what have you. What are they going to do? As is, they get no love from the big networks. Whereas even on Championship Sunday, if I want to see United play, odds are it's going to be on one of the big channels, NBC, NBC Sports Network. Where else are they going to go? CNBC? Bravo? E? What are you thinking about in trying to alienate these people all for just yet another quick buck? Kind of a pathetic punk move.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's just, but look, this is their way of finding. They said they were going to do this. In fact, when they signed that new deal that had kept them with the Premier League for 6 more years, they said they were going to find a way to monetize the Premier League against streaming services and
so what's next?
Stuff.
Are they going to try to monetize the damn Olympics? They had
no, I don't think it's not the Olympics. It's just the Premier League. Like, they don't want to do the whole, NFL Sunday Ticket either, because guess what? Then you don't have to be subscribed to NBC at all. So this is their way of making sure that now the thing is, this could backfire on them completely, and nobody subscribes to this, and then they have to, back out and say that they misjudged the fan base, and
Especially with the number of people that have technologies like X1, where a lot more things are available in a lot of different ways, so you don't have to watch in the match.
But they're taking it off all of that. So there's going to be no more on-demand where those games show up later. There's going to be no more ad hoc channels where...
No, I'm not even talking ad hoc channels. I mean X1. I press a button on my remote, and I could be watching something else completely. I say, hey, this match is on. Let me see what's going on. It gives me the score. It gives me play-by-play. It gives me shot patterns. It gives me trends. It gives me statistics. With a lot of these people, if it's a team that I don't really give a crap about, I could just go ahead and press that and keep the $50 in my pocket for dealing with conundrums or whatever other shenanigans I want. And that goes a long way.
Well, yeah, but I think also it's just about, all these things that somebody already pays for, all these streaming services people already pay for anyway. If you're talking about Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and all this other stuff, that doesn't even count the extra ones. I pay for PS View, so that's another $45. And I had to pay for the unlimited thing, as well, which Comcast charges you for, which I'm sure all the other subscribers probably within a year are going to be doing, if they don't already do already. And
thankfully.
Luckily for you, you don't. But, that's because we also do more streaming in the house. Because the only thing we have is one cable box that lets you watch the, basic channels or whatever.
Yeah, and even we do a lot more streaming because with X1, my mother's discovered Netflix, which has led to some interesting conversation. But even then, now I will say, if Comcast decides to get FS2 where I am, so I can watch some of my Australian rules, I'll shut up about it for a little while. But no, you've got way too much of a beef with me to deal with this, Comcast. No.
Now you're gonna get your game on NBC Sports Network.
Mm-hmm.
Now this only affects the 10 o'clock games, the 10 a.m. Eastern games. So you're gonna miss those 3 to 4 extra games that you could have flipped to. Say that game is boring or whatever. And I think honestly this doesn't really affect a ton of people.
No.
Again, unless you're a fan of the smaller teams in the United States, which, look, this league keeps growing. There's possibility that there are a lot. I've seen pubs that are full of Crystal Palace fans. So...
Crystal Palace? What is this, 15 years ago?
So, but if you're one of those, bandwagon, top 6 people, it's not going to bug you too much. But again, the big, Newcastle contingent... which that's 50%. If you're a big Leicester fan because of their run, a year ago, you can see a lot of your games being on that service. And so then you have to decide, do I want to illegally stream, which that's an option, right? You could also put a virus on your computer, or do I pay $50, but now I know between what I pay for this, NBC Sports and all that stuff, and this, I'll get all the games. And no matter what, I can always watch it. But before this, you always had that option because you could just go on Premier League Extra Time or on your Odd Hack channel or on the Comcast thing, which I hated the Comcast thing because they always had one game that they decided they didn't want to show at all. And, that would be the time Manchester United's playing, and it's like, oh, great, I can't even watch this. So, you can't do any of that anymore. So it's an issue. But people need to understand that the more that TV goes to the internet, the more they're going to find ways to screw with you and to make it to where you got to pay for this and pay for that and pay for this and pay for that. And guess what's probably going to wind up happening? It's all going to go in a cycle. And we're going to wind up back where cable is going to sound better than all this other stuff because these small little things that you keep paying for, they all add up. And then you got to start deciding which ones you really want. Because I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years things get so bad for ESPN, they start charging you for that Watch ESPN. Fox Soccer starts charging for that Fox Soccer to go or whatever the heck.
If they start charging for Watch ESPN, I'm done.
No. I'm just saying, I don't want it to happen because I love the fact that I can turn on Watch ESPN and watch whatever. But yeah. I will not be surprised at all if they start saying, you know what, we might have to start charging for this because, number one, we got a lot of people that are accessing this illegally. Number two, we've got, it's... You got people cutting the cord because of it, and that's what they don't want. They don't want people cutting the cord.
And before that happens, and this idea has been flirted for years now, where you have cable service a la carte, now Dish is finally starting to delve into that arena with their channel packs. More and more companies are going to adopt that strategy before adopting charging for your ancillary apps and things like that.
Let's hope you're right.
Well, let's face it. We're decades, if not centuries, from the point where we're all going to just upload our digital consciousness into a massive cloud. And by that point, all of this is going to be a moot conversation. But as we're getting there, there is a very distinct set of baby steps that's going to happen first. It's all read and react, and cable companies are going to react with offered a la carte, and then the auxiliary apps.
Yeah, I just don't like the way Sling offers their a la carte with you get one channel that I might actually want inside with the 4 channels I don't really give a crap about, and you want me to pay $5 extra. Well, guess what? All those extra little $5 things that you want me to pay for, those start adding up too.
Well, why do you think they have Danny Trejo doing all of their commercials? I got mad love for Machete, but I'm not buying any products off of that guy.
It's stupid too because they have one that has almost every single channel you want except for none of the Disney or ESPN. And then you have to pay a whole another $25 to add that on. So then you pay what I pay for PS View, which is $45, just for all those channels. But then if you want your sports pack, that's $10 extra. Your DVR costs $5, which that comes in View in there. But then, Sling has channels that View doesn't have, and View has channels Sling doesn't have. And it's just oh my God, you can never have that perfect thing. And it's just this sucks.
Well, let Sling is opening the door.
Right.
The next thing you know, Hulu and Amazon and Netflix.
Yeah.
They're all going to decide to get on this. So
all that's left is for Amazon because you got YouTube and Hulu already on it.
Okay, so give this a few years. First of all, Amazon, they're too busy buying out Whole Foods and being in cahoots with Dish to offer wireless service. Give Jeff Bezos time, especially when he's not arguing with a certain orange man with a certain quaff who's overseas right now. Once that feud's over, he could go back and doing his thing and entering that market. So again, give it time.
All right. Well, I think we sort of talked. We could probably go on for a while on this and rehash the same points, but you can let us know. Tweet at us at Squid Sportshead, at WTM Sean, at WTM Network for the just the whole podcast in general. Leave a comment.
Metaverse.
Leave a comment in the WTMnet.com section there where this post is. Let us know what you feel about Premier League Pass or the salary cap for UEFA. Do you think that's a good thing or not? And make sure that you check out the Gold Cup, which begins today at 7 o'clock. French Guiana in Canada, Honduras and Costa Rica in the United States plays on Saturday at 4:30. And then you get Mexico playing on Sunday. So Gold Cup starting, Confed Cup just ended, and then when the Gold Cup ends, we're already starting to talk about Community Shield and the other leagues starting up. Champions League already started qualification too, if you're big into that. So yeah, so we'll be talking about that European season again, and not on this podcast, but you guys will amongst yourselves. And MLS will be continuing on, which we will continue to talk about here. Sunday, of course, Rachel will be on to talk some more NWSL. We'll talk that first round of the Gold Cup, since that will be over. And MLS is on that 2-week break, so we get a break from that, and then whatever else has been going on. So I'm sure there'll be already rumors of certain players going to MLS teams or whatever because they played one great game in the Gold Cup.
Especially now that you're also going to get the countdown to the All-Star match.
Oh, yeah, that. So, yeah Ronaldo coming to just slap the taste out of the MLS All-Star team, probably.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So make sure you check back with us again on Monday morning on the On Demand, where we'll talk about the continuing what's going on in this side of the pond, soccer. Until then, we'll see you later, everybody.
Peace.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.